guest expectations, right? Specifically the phrase, I was not expecting this. Now, in hospitality, we like to see the I was not expecting this on the right? I was not expecting this. This is amazing. This room is much bigger than I thought. This amenity, this feature is so much cooler. This pool, incredible. But sometimes we also have the I was not expecting this in the negative light. And we have today in 2024 more ways than ever to plant the flag of guest expectations, because where we want to live in that I was not expecting this positive light just depends on how well we set the table, the guest experience prior to a guest arrival. And using places like social media are absolutely key in planting that flag of guest expectations. It's such a powerful tool. Online review response is also a great way to do that, by the way. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about setting expectations through just copy. So I want you to look at this. Look like one of those find the difference here images, right? Same exact image. All we've added is 20 minutes to our social copy, and look at how well that actually sets expectations. So, excuse me, our close proximity to the airport versus our close 20-minute proximity to the airport. Because close could mean very different things for different guests, depending on what parts of the country you're in. We're here in Orlando. Close could be a 20-minute drive. But if your guest comes in thinking that you're right next door to the airport, and that plant of guest expectations was not sewed in their head before they got here, you could be on the negative of I was not expecting for that airport to be this far. The same is true with social images, right? Very, same exact copy here, but what we did instead is we actually used an image of what they can expect. We see this all the time in guest sentiment in our review data of, I knew that there was a complimentary breakfast. I was not thinking that it was only going to be a bagel and yogurt, right? But if you set that expectation up front, you might not fail those expectations moving forward. So I want to give a quick example here. I want to go back in a time machine, back when Ryan, and I've not introduced myself. I'm the director of marketing here at Travel Media Group. Back when Ryan was behind the front desk in operations. And one of the things that I loved when I worked at the front desk for a hotel was when a guest would recognize me coming into our lobby based on reviews that they had seen online. And if anyone else has kind of started their career, maybe, on the front lines, that feeling of familiarity already just jumpstarts a guest experience there. That's what setting guest expectations feels like, is when they go, oh, you're the famous Ryan, or you're the famous Carla, or famous Diane that I've been reading all about online, right? And that familiarity already gets them in a place where they can have a positive experience. So, the second example that has stayed with me again all these years was this property that had this parrot, Lisa the parrot, in fact. It's all over their social media. It's all over guest social media, obviously, because not every hotel has a parrot in their lobby. But this was something that guests expect when they come into the hotel. And as you can tell, there's drawings in the back, but it was just so cool to see. And when I came through that lobby doors, I knew that there was going to be that parrot. Now, as everyday hoteliers, we cannot all go out and buy a parrot for our lobby. I am not suggesting to do that. But there are some things that we can do to set expectations. So we're going to go through, like I said, tons of content ideas here. But we're going to go through maybe some of the biggest topics and subjects when it comes to social posts, and show and demonstrate how we can set expectations in that. And I'll start with seasonal post. So this is a great example, obviously promoting the fall foliage of the leaves turning. But one of the things that is very frustrating when I come to a hotel's feed or a business feed is when I might be going up to the Northeast around the holidays, and all of a sudden there's a picture of green grass, the pool, people inside the pool. It's just not matching up. So a post like this with the elements outside does a great job of showing that this is a relevant post. This was a picture or post that is in season with what's going on at the hotel. That makes me feel familiar. That makes me feel like, okay, I've got an idea of what I'm going to get when I get to this location. The other thing is just building the location around your hotel. Obviously, one of the most frequently questions I would get at the front desk, what's there to eat around here, right? Easy post. I love this post because they actually tag the property, and hopefully that social media manager at the restaurant's keeping their ears and social listening so that they can interact with this post as well, maybe trade some traffic between the businesses. But building your location in your feed is very important. It doesn't just have to be restaurants. We saw during the pandemic how important things like grocery stores and pharmacies were to people. We might be familiar with our location, our area, and if they come to the front desk, we're going to obviously give that information. Why not set the expectation first and start building your location on your social feed, and makes for great content for your guests. Setting expectations for rooms, right? We of course love all of our beautiful stock photos that we have, but why not get creative? This is a twofer with the social media post. This is showing obviously the space of the room, which is fantastic, but it also shows that this is a pet-friendly resort. So we really kind of accomplished two objectives there at the same time while highlighting the room. Features in the room. We don't have to, feature the entire room. What about really tailoring your post to your audience? So if this is a property that typically sees a lot of business travelers, setting expectations of this could be the place that you work while your family goes down at the pool, or this could be where you get some work done in between meetings or that conference that you're attending. Again, setting the expectations of when I walk through the door, I'm familiar here with this. Events. Now, events are absolutely fantastic social content, but they have to be used creatively. We do not want to turn our hotel's social media feed into a giant events calendar. I think this post does a fantastic job, and one of the reasons I used it as an example, excuse me, was that it caters to a wide audience, right? Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper's audience is going to be very different from Thomas Rhett and Dave Chappelle. But it shares to that audience. It achieves a lot of objectives in just one post. Now, another thing we can do unique when it comes to events, because a lot of the information that we might be able to provide a guest, they can find on a website. And most of the time, we're sending them to that site for information. But one of the unique things that we can do is if you're able to get pictures from an event with your guest, obviously we would need their permission, but experiencing the event, right? As travelers, we're always trying to put ourselves in the shoes of other travelers. What would happen if I experienced this? And that's exactly why we write reviews, right? We're trying to inform the next traveler. This is a really great and unique way to give information of an event that's already not on the internet, of saying, here's a picture from last year's event where some of our guests enjoyed this concert, enjoyed this game, enjoyed this holiday lighting ceremony, as you can see here. So really unique way of setting expectations for your next guest. Let's talk about amenities. Now, this is a fabulous post here with a wonderful, clean gym. Gives a great job of showing, obviously, what equipment's going to be there. And I wanted to show these two examples because sometimes we like to do, if your gym never looks like this, if your gym is always jam-packed with people, putting a picture like this on the left is not setting expectations. The expectation is that they're going to walk in and there's not going to be anyone. But if there's constantly people in there, you want to set that expectation. Now, for some hotels, you might want to use that as a positive, right? This is a New Year's post. Maybe this is your hotel is in an urban market. It's attracting a younger vibe and crowd. Show what it's like on Fridays and Saturday nights. It's crowded here. Some guests are drawn to that. Other guests, It will also set expectations of, hey, listen, I just want a quiet night. I don't need this many people around, but at least you're setting the expectations. You're planting that flag, as I spoke to at the top of the webinar. So a really good contrast here in saying what actually is happening. Pools are a great example for this as well. You don't want to be caught with the wrong expectations from your guests about your pools and other amenities. Now, I had to add this one in here because I just thought it was so creative, right? We do something called a guest sentiment industry, a seasonal guest sentiment industry report. So every season, we look through all the reviews and kind of see some of the most talked about topics, whether they're trending positive or negative. One of the number one negative trending topics over the last couple seasons has been Wi-Fi. If you have great Wi-Fi, people talk about your internet. I know it's not something that typically a lot of people bring up, but if you know that you have fast Wi-Fi, that is something to promote. That is setting the expectations. And I think this post does it in a really creative way because this is also a beach resort, right? And lastly, we have a hotel lobby picture. Now, I love a good hotel lobby picture. I said that story at the top. When somebody walks in, they recognize you. It's the same feeling about check-in when they walk into a property. Now, this might not be the glitz and glam of your pool or your bar or your breakfast buffet or fitness center, but it creates a missing piece of, or the first piece rather, of the guest experience. When they first walk into a hotel lobby, what are they going to see? Where do they check in? Is there a smiling face behind the front desk ready to welcome them and give them directions and set them up for a great stay for the property? So do not underestimate the power of a really a good lobby pick for your social media feed. Now this one's interesting. Now, a lot of hotels might not promote the fact that there's free parking in this area, right? That's almost like putting on social media that you have flat screens TVs now. More often than not, you're gonna have free parking. But what this property found out is that there's actually looking at competitor sentiment and maybe just guest sentiment in the area, parking is a huge issue in this area. It's an urban property, a lot of expensive parking for events and limited parking. This might be the perfect post to set guest expectations and could be the difference between that guest staying there and staying with a competitor. So using sentiment data to set expectations, if you don't have a reliable way to go into your guest feedback and see the top 5 things that people love and the top things that maybe they don't necessarily love, use those things as content. Even if you're setting the expectation of, we get noise sometimes because of our exciting urban atmosphere, showing the surrounding areas. If that is an issue, try to set the expectations up front and lessen the blow on the end of the side, saying, I was not expecting it to be this loud, right? Going back to that image at the front. Now, if this is not your first time and you've been with me and you've done these webinars with me before, you'll know that I absolutely love social video. This, I feel, is one of the biggest opportunities for the hotel industry right now. It takes time to sit down and create a video, but I guarantee you the hotels that are taking advantage of this right now are in the same position that were the first hotels that got on platforms like Facebook and Instagram. This is the way that we are consuming content now. We're getting more video, and I guarantee you the scrolling is going to start going faster and faster on those images, and more video content is going to be consumed. So I can talk your ears off about the stats. I have a few up here, but I want to show you this really impressive video that we created, just 7 to 10 seconds here for one of our hotel partners. Somebody go get the tell them that
that I'm coming.
So super simple, right? 7 to 10 seconds. But in that small video there, that was probably 4 to 5 social media posts that we were able to convey to our guests. So when we're talking about setting expectations, there are so many elements to a guest experience. Valet, check-in, dining, in-room, common areas, amenities, all of that. If we can start using a video to set expectations up front, you could accomplish a lot more than just trying to maybe get in their feed 4 to 5 times, which might not be feasible to do. So I wanted to show some absolutely fantastic data and stats from this video alone. And this is where I'm talking about this power of social video is so untapped right now. The hotels that are doing it have a massive, massive advantage because it does take time to do, but the results are there. So, you know, as we wrap up here, I just want to kind of share this image. And if you start to think about your hotel and guest experience as this sort of puzzle, and if you think about it, you know, when you're doing a puzzle, you kind of see elements, but you know where your gaps are. You know where you need to look for pieces. We want to be, as social media marketers to our guests, we want to complete these puzzle pieces. We want to close the gap on what the hotel and guest experiences will be. And that is the definition of setting guest expectations up front. If they know what check-in looks like, what dining looks like, even to valet, every single element of your guest experience, if we're able to plant those flags of expectations, those are the hotels that are going to end up more on the spectrum of, wow, I was not expecting this, because that's when the magic happens. That's when you can take your service and your people and take it up a notch. But you have to plant that flag of expectations first. And one of the challenges I would give to everybody on this webinar is, if you want to see how well your hotel or hotel management company is painting a picture for guests, scroll through your Instagram feed, whether it's on your phone like this. It's laid out very much like a puzzle. Scroll on your Instagram feed, pull it up on your desktop, and just scroll and see what type of picture am I posting. You know, we don't want to be an events calendar. We don't want to be an ad that just talks about our room rates and our discounts. We want to cover every aspect of the guest experience. So really excited to share that with you. As I mentioned before, all of the content ideas that you saw here were actually curated and created for our hotel partners across the nation. We've done over 1 million posts. We're almost at the 1 million mark for followers, and 775,000 ad impressions that we do with our ad spend. We are truly the premier social media solutions for hotel and hotel management companies. We're going to continue this social success series throughout 2024. I want to thank you for joining me.